Greetings for the day, students. I, Professor Shaurya Shah, welcome you all to Sybcom Semester 3 Advanced Accounting and Auditing Paper 2 lecture. I would be glad if we would have been learning face to face, one on one, but due to current pandemic situation, we are not able to meet each other. But the digital education has become a need of an hour, so I suppose all of you will also be very actively participate in this new academic year. With this hope, we will be starting with today's lecture, that is Advanced Accounting and Auditing Paper 2. Now, before starting with the actual lecture, I would like to give you a brief idea regarding the subject for all those students who have taken accountancy as their principal subject, right? That is your again specialization in accountancy. Dear students, you will be studying two papers of Advanced Accounting Auditing Paper 1 and Paper 2, again known as Costing and Corporate. Advanced Accounting and Paper 1 is your subsidiary paper, which can be taken as option, but for accountancy students it is a compulsory paper. Advanced Accounting and Auditing Paper 2, that is a compulsory paper which you need to study, that is Corporate Accounting. So, starting with the lecture, first of all, as you must have seen in your admission forms also, you have two accounts. The first is your paper 1 and paper 2. Today we'll be starting with the paper 2. Many students gets confused between the paper numbers. So always keep in mind, one is your costing and second is your corporate accounting. You can understand your papers in such a way. Now, to begin with the lecture, first of all, we should know what is the subject all about, what we are going to study for entire semester. So just a brief idea regarding your odd semester, that is semester 3 only we will be seeing. The syllabus, we can say you have only 3 practical chapters. Now before we start, till now you have studied what is financial accounting and all, right? You studied what is balance sheet, you studied consignment account, you studied what is branch account, you studied what do you mean by joint venture and all. But now we are going to study advanced accounting and auditing. Now for accountancy students, the paper will continue for 2 years. That is again 1 and 2 paper in this semester, 3 and 4 in the next semester, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. So you need to study entirely 8 papers of advanced accounting and auditing in coming 2 years of your college. Fine. So in this semester particularly, if I say, the semester is very easy. You have only 5 chapters in your syllabus. The very first is your concepts or Companies Act, we can say, right? The concepts you need to study. We'll be seeing the syllabus also in detail, but you have mainly 5 chapters. The first is concept, second is liquidation of company, third is accounting for stockbrokers, fourth is amalgamation, and fifth is your absorption. What is this chapter all about? What we are going to study, we will see in the coming slide. Now your paper code will be always CE 320A, as you can see on the top. The syllabus we are going to start is of last year only. As such, no new syllabus from university has been issued. So we'll be continuing with the syllabus which was of 2019 and 20. The first chapter, as you can see on your screen, that is your concepts under Companies Act 2013. Now as you all must be knowing, you must have studied that earlier Companies Act 1956 was there. But once in 2013 new Companies Act came, the accounts also changed according to the provisions of Companies Act 2013. A very small chapter, you need to study only 6 to 7 concepts according to Companies Act. The weightage is 10%. What you will study? You will study what is financial year. So if I ask you very quickly, can anyone tell me the financial year? Yes, you thought it right. It is from 1st April to 31st March, particularly in India, we can say, right? So financial year, what is financial year? What types of financial year are there for various companies, for various businesses, that we are going to study. Issued capital, paid up capital. So you all must be clear till now. You are studying since school. What do you mean by share capital? What are the types of share capital? It can be issued capital, it can be authorized capital, it can be subscribed capital, it can be paid up capital. So all those types you need to study. You need to study about their characteristics also, and you need to very specifically remember the sections. If I ask in financial year is defined in which section, then it is in section 2, 41 subsection. Then issued capital, it is section 2, subsection 50. Then what do you mean by public company? You must be aware regarding public company, private company, what is it, what conditions are required for a public company and private company to be registered, to be formed, how they perform, what are the employees, who are the directors and all you need to study. Then the next is your one person company. Again, this provision, we can say, or this concept is very first time introduced in Companies Act 2013, one person company. Again, very important from your exam point of view also, it many a times comes in your short notes. So we will see when we start with the chapter. So this is all about your first chapter, having a weightage of only 10%. Generally a short note comes from this chapter. The second and the important chapter, that is liquidation of a company. What is liquidation? We will see in the later part of the chapter lecture. We will start. In that chapter, you need to study first of all what do you mean by liquidation, what are the modes of winding up, what circumstances you are there. Then mode of voluntary winding up, in your syllabus you have voluntary winding up of your liquidation. Then you have various kinds of types of preferential creditors that you need to study, calls in areas are there. Then you need to prepare first of all the liquidator's statement of account, most important thing. A 14 marks sums compulsory comes from this chapter, students. If you understand the concept, the chapter is very easy. The weightage, as you can see, is 25%. The third chapter is your accounting for stockbrokers. Again, it is completely theory chapter. You need to study first of all meaning and definition. Now, what do you mean by SEBI? SEBI you need to study. SEBI, as you all must be knowing, Securities and Exchange Board of India. It manages basically the stock market and the working of various companies in India. SEBI regulation 1992 registration. Remember, SEBI was registered in year 1992. So if I quickly ask you in which year SEBI was registered, so you need to remember 1992. Maintenance of proper books of account, records and documents. Then you need to study the various kinds of concepts of stockbroker, who is known as a stockbroker, who is known as a sub-broker. So all those things you need to study. It is completely theory chapter, only a short note comes from this chapter. The next is, then the most important chapter is your amalgamation of companies. Amalgamation and absorption. The weightage is 25% and 25%. Generally, one long sums come from amalgamation and again absorption in option. Both are related concept only, but there is just a distinct line of difference between both of the chapters. So if I say what do you mean by amalgamation, just to see it very briefly, you will study in this chapter about the meaning of amalgamation, when an amalgamation takes place, what are the entries to be passed in the company doing amalgamation. So if I ask very briefly, what do you mean by amalgamation? Amalgamation is when two or more companies having similar business comes together and again form a new company. That is known as amalgamation, to amalgamate. The next chapter is your absorption. When one large company absorbs the second small company, then only one company remains in the market. That is known as absorption. And the name of the old company is removed, right? So what you need to do is, we are studying accounts. So in accounts, you need to prepare accounts for every situation when company amalgamates. So you need to close down the books of the old companies. You need to open the books of the new company. When you are studying absorption, you need to close down the books of the old company and you need to prepare the books of the new company. So 25%, 25%, again 14 marks long sum comes from this chapter. And when you are studying this thing, the amalgamation and absorption are to be considered according to accounting standard 14 only. There is a specific format for everything that we are going to study, as the name of the subject is corporate accounting, right? So everything related to your body corporate, that is companies, we are going to study in this entire semester. I hope it is clear. Everyone clear with the syllabus? Fine. Now looking to the university paper pattern. Knowing the paper pattern of accountancy paper is very important thing, because you need to score more and more marks by practicing more and more. So the very first will be always same paper pattern like your last financial accounting paper which you studied in your F5 Bcom. The first question will be of 10 marks. This will be of short type sums, right? You will be having 3 to 4 sums of 3 marks each or 2 marks each, again scoring. Second is a long sum, 14 marks. A long sum may be either from liquidation, a compulsory sum, or maybe from amalgamation or absorption. Again, third, a 14 mark sum may be from amalgamation or from absorption. So all you have in all students only 3 chapters to be practiced, 3 practical chapters. Out of that only long sums come and short sums also. So in all, if you are clear with those chapters, your scoring will be increasing. Question number 4, that is short notes. Same like your last year, 12 marks, 4 marks each. You need to prepare any 3 short notes and write it in the paper so that you can get around 10 to 11 marks if you have written it very good way. So it is again, if you are thorough with your concepts, you have attended the lectures properly, it is very easy to score above 40 marks out of 50. And mind well, for accountancy specialization students, your marks of paper 1 and paper 2 will be considered in a group. So both the papers you need to work hard and the final result will be out of both the papers. Is it clear everyone? Fine. Now what will be my lectures pattern flow, right? First of all, we will start with the practical chapters, that is liquidators account, then amalgamation, then absorption. In between, I'll take the theory chapters lectures also, and I'll be giving you the notes in Google Classroom for each and everything. Second part, for first of all, we will be going through the theory of each and every chapter. We'll be understanding the concepts very clearly. Then I'll give you a list of sums prior to the lecture so that you can go through the sums, and then we will be solving it simultaneously. It will be a hands-on lecture. I will be solving the sums along with you only. If you have any doubts, you can again immediately post it in Google Classroom. We are here to help you out. We will solve your queries. Is it clear everyone? But it is accounts lecture, so you need to practice more and more sums. I'll be solving sums in the lecture. I'll be giving more and more practice sums also, so you need to do that part. So then only your accounts will improve. Fine. So students, shall we start with the second chapter, that is liquidators account. This chapter particularly is having some part of theory that needs to be understood. Then only we can start with the sums. So first of all, liquidation, right? You all must be aware with the term of liquidity. But what do you mean by company liquidation? So seeing on your screen, students, a company is an artificial person. It is created by law, and therefore law alone can dissolve it. As you all must have studied, a company is an artificial person which is created by law. So only a law can dissolve it, no one else. So on dissolution of company's name shall be struck off by the registrar from register of the companies, and he shall also be the fact published in official gazette. So what is liquidation? You form a company, it is working, going on for years. Once a time comes when due to any other factor you have to close down your company. So the event of closing down the company or dissolving the company is known as liquidation of a company. Now liquidation or winding up of a company is a process by which dissolution of a company is brought about and its property administered for the benefit of its creditors and members, right? So once the company is making loss or the company is not working properly, what board of directors will do, they will try to liquidate the company, they will try to dissolve the company. So once the company is dissolved, all the property and the benefits are given to its members, either shareholders, preference shareholders, equity shareholders, or the creditors or the persons to whom we have to pay. Is it clear everyone with the meaning of liquidation? To liquidate is to close down. Now for liquidation, our entire chapter is based upon this person known as liquidator. Who is a liquidator? An administrator called liquidator is appointed, and he takes over the control of the company, collects its assets, pay its debts, and finally distribute the surplus among the members in accordance to their rights. So a liquidator, once the company decides to liquidate, a person is appointed. He is the administrator. He manages the function of liquidation in the company. He sells out the assets, he gains the money out of it, He pays the money to the various stakeholders and the surplus is again distributed among the members. So he is the person who is undertaking the entire liquidation process. Thus liquidation or winding up ultimately leads to dissolution of the company. So only aim is to dissolve the company and to close down the company. So we as a advanced accounting student, we need to prepare the liquidation statement, that is liquidator statement, for gaining the money and for paying the money. Is it clear? All of you clear with the meaning of the entire chapter? Fine. The next part of the chapter is modes of winding up. How you can wind up your business, right? In that, the very first thing is compulsory winding up. Whenever such thing takes place, any unavoidable situation happens, or court orders or government orders, the company is to be closed down due to various factors. So in that case, it is known as compulsory winding up. You need to follow the rules and regulations of the order of the court or government. Second, voluntary winding up. That we'll be seeing it in detail. Voluntarily, if a company decides to wind up its business, then it is known as voluntary winding up. And the next is winding up under the supervision of the court. Many a times court interferes while doing the liquidation process. They are into the situation that the company should be winded up. So out of all three, in our syllabus, in VNSU syllabus, you need to study only voluntary winding up. The first and the third we don't need to study. Is it clear, everyone? So we will see what is voluntary winding up in detail. A winding up without any intervention of the court is termed as voluntary winding up. The business persons, the directors of the company, decide to wind up the company on their own voluntarily. That is known as voluntary winding up. According to Section 489 of Companies Act, a company may be wound up voluntarily by passing an ordinary resolution in the general meeting. They have to pass a resolution that, sir, we need to wind up our company due to following reasons. This, after passing the resolution, wind up the company, any reason whatsoever. So a special resolution is to be passed or a simple resolution is to be passed in the meeting, and then the process for the winding up can be started. I hope it is clear, everyone. Fine. Now what are the consequences of winding up the company that you need to study? What a liquidator do actually after he is appointed. So once the company passes the resolution, an official designated person is appointed who is known as liquidator. He will manage and administer the entire working of the company. It is in his hand to again manage the entire company, manage the entire liquidation process. The power of board of directors will terminate and will now vest into the liquidator. Now board of directors will no more be considered as the stakeholders of the company. It is in the hands of the liquidator that he has to see. The liquidator will realize the assets of the company and distributes the proceeds among various claimants in following order. Right? The only function of liquidator now is to sell off the assets, sell off the properties, gain money out of it, and then distribute it among the various stakeholders. He will first be paying all the legal charges. He will be again charging some of the liquidator's remuneration, and then he will be paying people in the various orders that we are going to see in the coming lecture. Is it clear, everyone? So what are the consequences? Once the liquidator is appointed, he takes the charge of the company instead of your board of directors. Then he starts to sell off the assets, and then he starts to receive back the money and pay it to the claimants. First, always he will pay the legal charges. Second, he will receive the remuneration for liquidation. Then he will be paying the cost of expenses of winding up that are commonly known as liquidation expenses. Third, he will be paying workmen's claims and dues. Fourth, he will be paying to preferential creditors. Fifth, he will be paying to creditors secured by floating charge, and at last unsecured creditors. Right? Students, we are going to see each and every person, each and every stakeholder in detail, who are included in preferential creditors, who are known as preferential creditors, whom can you consider as unsecured creditors. But this is just a brief idea regarding what is the procedure. Each and everything will be discussed in detail. In case something happens that after paying, suppose I am having a 1 crore fund to be distributed among these persons. I have paid liquidation expenses also, I have paid it to unsecured creditors, I have paid it to secured creditors also. Then also after that I am left out with some of the funds, like suppose say 10 lakh or 20 lakh. So this 10 lakh, 20 lakh, after giving it to all the stakeholders, will be distributed first in preference shareholders. Then if any surplus is left out, it will be distributed in equity shareholders also. Now how you have to pay the statement of affairs, we will be seeing the format of liquidator statement. But before that, you need to be very conceptually clear who are included in which head and in which sequence they will be paid. So assets are not specifically pledged. What are the receipts for your liquidation process, from where you will receive the money? The very first thing is you will be having bank balance. Then you will be having cash in hand. These two are your liquid assets. Then you will be having marketable securities which are to be sold. Bills receivable will be received. You will be having debtors from which you will be receiving the money. Then you must have given loans and advances that you will receive back. Then you must be having unpaid calls from which you can receive the money. Stock in trade, WIP, freehold property, leasehold property, plant and machinery, furniture and fittings. So what you are going, you will first receive the money from the current assets. Then you will be selling the fixed assets also. So the money which you are receiving, this needs to be distributed among various stakeholders that we are gonna see. I hope it is clear to everyone. So simple logic behind liquidation is to receive the money and to pay the money to various stakeholders. Now the money which you have received from current assets, fixed assets, cash balance, bank balance, to whom you will disburse. This is to be disbursed, the very first thing, as I told you, is to secured creditors. Now secured creditors terms includes lots and lots of details who are to be considered in secured creditors, that we will see individually in each head. The second thing is liquidation expenses, which includes legal charges and liquidators remuneration. Third is preferential creditors, that I told you. Preferential creditors are having a preference over the other creditors. Next is debenture holders or other creditors who have floating charge over the assets of the company. After you pay to all those four, you need to pay to unsecured creditors. Unsecured creditors are paid after preferential creditors, then preference shareholders and equity shareholders. So this is the order of payment which is done by liquidator. Just go through it once again. So for the practical sums, you need to remember the entire sequence of payment to be done. There will be adjustments given in the sum. You have to take which party is to be paid first and later on. Is it clear, everyone? So remember, liquidator statement has only two sides. One is receipt side, where you received money from various sources, and payment side, where you pay money from various sources. Is it clear, everyone? Fine. This list to be remembered by each and every student very thoroughly, so that this will be helpful to you for your sums. Now I hope you all must be clear with whatever we have learned so far. So a quick learning test for you all people. Just test your knowledge whether you remember it or not. Question number 1. When two or more companies carrying on similar business decide to combine, a new company is formed, is known as. Your options are absorption, liquidation, amalgamation or merger. Think for a while. Then I'll show you the answer for it. Okay, I hope students you must have got the answer. Correct answer is amalgamation. As I told you, it is amalgamating, that is merging two or more companies and forming a new company, that is known as amalgamation. Fine, I hope you must have got the right answer. Next question. When a company closes down its business either voluntarily or compulsorily is known as. Options are absorption, liquidation, amalgamation, or lockdown of business. I hope you all must be knowing this answer. And I suppose lockdown of the business is not an answer you must be thinking of. Okay, the correct answer is liquidation. I hope majority of you must have got this correct answer. Fine. The next question. When was SEBI established? I informed you in the very beginning of the lecture when we were discussing the syllabus. What do you mean by SEBI? SEBI is Securities and Exchange Board of India. What does it regulate? It regulates the share market, stock exchanges, and the working of company in India. So SEBI regularization took place in which year? 1991, 1994, 2000 or 1992? I hope again you must have remembered this part I told you. The correct answer is 1992. Okay. I suppose majority of the students must have got all the three questions correct. So it is a way again to be attentive in the class so that you can solve all the questions. From next lecture onwards we'll be solving the sums at the end. I suppose everyone must be clear with today's lecture. To sum up, what did we study? We saw the entire syllabus of semester 3 of Advanced Accounting and Auditing paper 2, that is known as Corporate Accounting. We discussed the first part of your syllabus, that is your liquidation account, that is practical chapter. What did we see? We see the meaning of liquidation, that is voluntary winding up of the company, or we can say in short dissolution of the company. We saw various modes of liquidation. Amongst that, first were compulsory, second voluntary, third under the supervision of the court. Is it clear, everyone? Fine. After modes, we saw the consequences. How a liquidator works actually, right? He has to see various kinds of, once he is appointed, he takes the place of board of directors, then he sells off the assets in the process of first current assets, then investments, then fixed assets. He gains all the money in the receipt side of liquidator statement, then he starts paying it to the various claimants. Amongst that, the very first is legal charges, second is liquidator's remuneration, then secured creditors, then preferential creditors, debenture holders, unsecured creditors, then if any, only if any surplus is left out, then it is paid to preference shareholders and then it is paid to equity. Right? So I hope everyone is clear with this part. You need to remember the sequence very clearly. Next lecture we will start with the heads, under which head who are known as secured creditors, who are known as preferential creditors, who are included in your various liquidators remuneration and what charges are to be paid. That sequence and that part you need to study it very thoroughly. If you remember the concept, your liquidator statement will be very easy. I suppose all of you are clear with the part. If any doubts, any queries, you can post it in Google Classroom. We are there to help you out from next lecture onwards. Once we clear with all the theory part, I will be giving you the sums in advance in Google Classroom so that you can go through it and simultaneously we can solve the sum. I hope each and everyone a safe and healthy day. Take care. We'll meet soon in the next lecture. Thank you all of you for your kind attention. This is Professor Shaurya Shah teaching you for Advanced Accounting and Auditing Paper 2. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.